He was in prison before he committed the murders. He was in prison for a long time and he asked for help so many times. At one point, he told staff that he wanted to eat the hearts of women, men, and children, and they still released him. Nico Jenkins grew up in Nebraska. He was one of 6 kids to his mom and dad. His 5 siblings were sisters. His childhood was rough, to say the least. Since he was a baby, all he knew was anger, arguments, violence. He was surrounded by hatred, abuse, both verbal and physical. He grew up looking at criminal behaviors from family members, and that's all he knew as a little kid. That's all he was surrounded by. That to him was normal. When Nico was 7 years old, he went into foster care, and from that young age, he communicated the thoughts that he was having in his head. All of those thoughts, almost every single one of them, were violent. Nico would say that he had voices, he heard voices in his head telling him to harm himself and others. At age 8, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. At age 11, he started carrying around a weapon on him 24/7. That was when he first got on police officers' radar. He started getting in trouble with the law for all kinds of things. By age 17, he had been sentenced to 14 to 15 years in prison for being involved in an armed carjacking. While in prison, his behavior was not good. He was still hearing voices in his mind telling him to kill everyone, basically. And he would tell the staff about this. This was no secret. He would talk about what he was hearing, the voices he was hearing, to the staff and his cellmates. He told a staff that he wanted to eat the hearts of women, men, and children. And Nico only ends up serving 10 years. He was released in July of 2013. So he spent 10 years in prison. More than half of his time in prison, over 50%, was spent in solitary confinement. At one point, he was in solitary confinement for 2 years straight. Not in and out. He was there for 2 years straight, and right after that is when he was released. Shocking, right? And Nico himself asked them not to be released. He told them that if he was to get released, he was going to kill someone. Nico Jenkins specifically, before being released, said that he did not want to be discharged because if he did, he would kill, cannibalize, and drink blood. He said that the Egyptian god would instruct him to do this. He asked for help, he asked for treatment, nobody listened to him, and he was just released. Nico gets released from prison, his family throws him a party, and one of his uncles gives him a weapon for his present from being released from prison. August 11th, Nico has a plan to commit a robbery. His plan is that his sister Erica and his cousin Christine are going to go to a bar. They're going to find 2 men and lure them to a secret location where Nico would meet them and then rob them. That is what happens. Erica and Christine go to a bar. They run into 2 men. Juan Peña is 26 years old and Jorge Ruiz is 29. The 2 women lure the 2 men to a different location. When they get there, Nico Jenkins jumps out and both men in the head. In less than 1 second, Jorge and Juan had lost their lives. Nico, his sister, and his cousin obviously flee the scene. Cops do end up finding the 2 dead bodies of Juan and Jorge, but they do not connect the murders to Nico Jenkins yet. August 19th, 2013, only 8 days later, Nico is at a party. He runs into a guy that he met in prison. It's 22-year-old Curtis Bradford. Nico's talking to Curtis at this party and he says, "Hey, I want to rob someone." And Curtis says, "Okay, great, I will come with you." Nico's sister Erica also decides to join in. All 3 of them are in a car driving to go find someone to rob. Once they get to wherever they were going, they get out of the car. Erica takes and Curtis in the head, immediately killing him. Nico is absolutely furious at Erica because he wanted to be the one that killed Curtis. He was pissed that Erica took the and did that. Nico ends up taking his and Curtis in the back of the head again. Both of them then drive away, leaving Curtis dead on the side of the road. Cops do get called. They find Curtis's body, pronounce him as dead. But no arrest is made. Nico does not get questioned for this at all. I don't even know if they were suspicious of him at this point. 2 days after that, August 21st, 2013, Nico decides that he again wants to rob someone, and he's planning to do this outside of a Lil Wayne concert. Decides it would be a good idea to confront the people when they were walking out of the concert, ambush them, and rob them. So Nico gathers up his little team, his sister Erica, his cousin Christine, and this time they invite his uncle Warren, which is the same uncle that had gifted him the weapon at his prison release party. They decide that before they do this, they need to go find a car and rob the car because they don't want to be robbing people in their own car because then they could get caught. So they make their way over to a McDonald's hoping to find a car that they can steal. This is when they see 33-year-old Andrea Kruger driving her car through the McDonald's drive-thru. Nico Jenkins waits for Andrea to stop driving her car. He then runs up to her, pulls her out of the car, and her in the neck, face, and shoulder multiple times, killing her, and then dumps her body just on the side of the road and drives away in her car. Him and his uncle got inside of Andrea's car and drove that car away, and the cousin and the sister are driving in one of their cars behind them. Just a little bit over a week after that, on August 30th, 2013, Nico Jenkins gets arrested on unrelated charges. Nico had a girlfriend. Yes, and he had been threatening to kill her and her mom. She reported that to the police, and that's why they came to come look for him and arrest him. While they have Nico under custody, officers are sort of connecting the dots, trying to pile together evidence to figure out if Nico could be the one responsible for these 4 murders. On September 3rd, Nico is interviewed for 8 hours. He's talking almost for the entire 8 hours straight, and he officially confesses to killing those 4 people. He tells police that the murders were acts of sacrifice to Apophis, I don't know how you say that, an ancient Egyptian serpent god. The 8-hour interview is kind of all over the place. You can tell his mental state of mind is not good. But he did confess, so he is charged with 4 counts of murder, and he's now awaiting trial. Now get this, while awaiting trial, Nico Jenkins files a lawsuit against the state of Nebraska for $24.5 million for wrongfully releasing him from prison. Nico says he should not be held responsible for the killing because he shouldn't have been let out of prison in the first place. He says that he told the staff that if he was released from prison, he was going to go out there and kill people. He did what he said and what he warned them that he was going to do, so therefore it's not his fault. In his trial, he decides to represent himself, and he says this again. He says that what he did, the murders, were sacrifices, and he did do them, but they were not his fault. April 16th, 2014, Nico Jenkins is found guilty on all 4 murders. During this time, I believe between being found guilty and sentencing, Nico Jenkins was using that time to carve things into his face with a sharp weapon. He attempted to carve 666 on his face, as well as the word Satan. He cut his tongue and had to get a lot of stitches. He wanted to look like a snake, like the god that he looked up to. He also did more aggressive, violent things to himself that I probably can't talk about because TikTok will flag me, so look them up, but just very In May 2017, Nico Jenkins was sentenced to 4 death penalties, as well as an additional 450 years on weapon charges connected with the murders. I'm pretty sure he is still alive awaiting the death penalty. Also, his mom, his sister, his cousin, and his uncle all received prison sentences as well for their involvement in the murders. So crazy, insane. I have no words for this one. Let me know what you guys think. I love you all so much. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.